Daily Dilemma time, and should priests be keeping all the secrets they hear in the confessional? The Royal Commission into Child Abuse says that there should be no excuse, protection or privilege for priests who don't alert police on abuse because information was received in confession. Now, one commentator says despite the tradition of confession, it won't cut it in the modern world, and sometimes perpetrators have gone on to reoffend after confessing. So, should the Church be putting the seal of the confessional before the safety of children? It's our Daily Dilemma, and Jonathan Moran is here from Sydney Confidential. Hello.
Hello. I'm feeling a bit emotional after seeing that with Johnny Ruffer, who's a good mate of ours. So
beautiful man.
That's emotional, and this topic makes me feel emotional. I'd like to start by saying I'm biased. I was abused as a child myself, and Sarah Monahan was on this show some time ago, and you guys did an amazing job of having her on here and really talking about this stuff, because there is a stigma for victims to talk about it. We feel guilty. We feel that we're the ones that are wrong. So it's a big thing for me to say that on national television. But I think that priests should disclose this stuff. I believe the Commission is right. For priests to hold this information in, it's not okay.
No.
And if people are perpetrating crimes, we have to do something about it. And as a society, it's time that we say enough is enough.
Absolutely. The confessional in the 50s, the priest was one step down from God. And that has changed now, and they've sullied the Catholic Church. And if a priest is told about it in the confessional about a murder and withholds that information, I just don't think that that's right. It shouldn't be.
It should be made.
You can still go in and confess, but just know that whatever in your confession is going to be told. If it's
why would people confess if they knew that they were going to tell police?
I think there's a couple of things.
Because people are strange.
People are, sometimes they just want it. Sometimes people confess to the police. I think absolutely there is no excuse for not reporting child abuse, and certainly not to allow it to be ongoing. When you know it's ongoing, you have to. Everyone is obliged to do whatever they can to stop it if they know about it. I think that this issue in particular is interesting because it is how it would work in practice. So whether or not either it would mean that the hierarchy of the church would simply not know about it. The pedophilia would continue, but they simply wouldn't know about it. So in a hypothetical situation, if a priest confessed to another priest and said, I've been doing this, then that senior priest could take steps to remove that priest from children or to monitor them in some way.
No, but that's what's been going on for years in the cover-up. It should. I'll tell you how it should work. It should work like teachers and doctors and people in those roles. It's mandatory for them to report anything. And you're also talking about if children perhaps come and bring something up in a confessional scenario, they have an obligation and a duty of care to report this to the authorities.
That was the other thing I was going to raise. So what if there's a victim of child sex abuse?
Well, like school teachers, if a child or a friend of a child says something that is inappropriate, the teachers have an obligation. They have to report it. And
Too often this stuff is being swept under the carpet, and we've seen time and time again, and this commission was brought in Queensland because of, and one of the evidences in that was a priest who had assaulted a child or children 1,500 times.
Yeah.
And then they'd confessed 30-something times to other priests and been told to go home and pray.
Yeah.
Now, that is not okay. We have to make a stand as a society. Yes, this may deter people. If you're going to say that you're going to be reported to police, then of course less people are probably going to come forward and say that they did it. But the Catholic Church, other churches, religions, whatever, as a society, stop sweeping it under the carpet
100%.
Because it's happening too much. The documentary, The Keepers, I've just been watching this last week, and wow, that's an emotional thing. And the Catholic Church has a lot to answer for. I'm sorry, but that's in my opinion. And other churches.
Hang on, is that how I was just thinking, maybe years ago, the priests that were pedophiles would confess to another priest, but that priest couldn't do anything. And so that they probably all confessed to one another.
There's so much horrible stuff going on. There's been evidence of actual pedophile rings and actually knowing each other, evidence of them just moving the priest along and not taking any steps whatsoever to remove the priest from children, but just moving it to another parish where it wasn't their problem. I think there's also been a problem with, because the Catholic Church was so, like, it would put things like divorce and homosexuality and pedophilia all into this same basket of sin. They couldn't actually
needs to work out a system so that
between
a priest can refer the complaint up. So you have to have a sort of a chief priest who takes the complaints, and with some sort of decisive view on how to resolve it, because there's no good just telling the next priest or the one across the road. You've got to take it up to the top somewhere where someone says, all right, that priest will have to be prosecuted, he'll have to be removed out of the jurisdiction of whatever he's doing.
And people that have given their confession, they then feel, studies have shown that they then feel that they've got it off their chest.
They're absolved.
And then they go and they do it again.
But you're not absolved unless you repent.
But I think there's a sick, twisted way. I'll do my 10 Hail Marys and then go off and do it again.
And then you get absolution again.
This isn't just a Catholic Church issue, I just have to say. It's an issue that all of us in society have to look at. It's just that this example's around the confessional seal, and I'm for priests having a forum to raise it up further to get it looked at.
Is it like if someone confesses to a shrink, they have an obligation to then go and report it, even though that is supposed to be
that's right.
safe?
Although I don't think lawyers, I still, well, if a lawyer is defending someone who's denying that they're a pedophile, but they say, look, I did it, I don't think a lawyer is under obligation to do that, and that raises other questions, and then it raises questions of if because a priest would probably tell a pedophile that they should hand themselves into police, or they should report themselves to police, and whether or not you might inadvertently stop that avenue to sort of flush them out, if you like, and actually get them and just drive. But I don't know. I hate them all so much. I want them all.
A lawyer should do the same if a client says, I did it.
Well, that's right. But then you completely
have to give
throw
up your
the
fee,
entire.
wouldn't you?
Well, then you have to throw the entire justice system up in the air. Do you say, well, murderers should have to, and then suddenly you don't have.
When it comes to children's safety, there's nothing.
I just say burn them all. Anyway, but.
All right, I think we've all had our say. Jonathan Moran, you are very brave. Thank you very much for joining us.